Hi, and welcome to this edition of What's New in Intune 2311, 2312. Nikolai, you have been away for some time, and could you enlighten us to where have you been?
I can share some parts of it. I had a trip to Redmond to visit Microsoft and to talk about all the lovely stuff that they are doing to get some insights to what's to come with Intune. Um, and I can say for sure that I'm very intrigued and looking very much forward for 2024 and to see what's going to be released in the pipeline there. There's really a lot of cool stuff to do. But also, I mean, I'm the kind of guy that likes to provide feedback. So I also highlighted some of the, I wouldn't call them deficiencies, but like missing pieces of the puzzle. Um, that's the kind of topics we talked about as well. One main thing, in my opinion, there's currently a Twitter thread going on the same topic as well. So if you follow me or Matthias, you would be able to find it. And it relates to Win32 application packages, right? And the capability of force upgrading those applications that have been made available, or essentially made available on demand for the end user to install. And that's something we can't really manage today in a good way without relying on some sort of inventory and building some sort of group structure and then put a required installation. Because that's also sort of overlaps with the capability of having to maybe uninstall that application in the future and such. So those kind of things is what we talked about.
Sounds nice.
Yeah, it was good. It was good to be
Any
back. The
any
weather wasn't
possible?
any good, but whatever. It's the same here in Sweden, so who cares?
Yeah, in Denmark, it's also the bad weather, raining. It should be snowing now. Then we are here approaching Christmas, and yeah,
Certainly. Yeah. We want the white snow on the outside so that we can go play and have fun, build snowmans and such, right?
yes, exactly. But Nikolai, I hope that you provide some of the feedback that we have been providing during the
Oh,
year
yes.
that we created these What's New in Intune. Actually, today we have a anniversary, Nikolai, for 1 year. We started out doing
Oh,
the
really?
23,
Wow.
the 2211 and 2212. Wasn't that the first one?
I think it was, right?
Yeah, it was.
So, virtual high five to you, then. Boom. And thank you
Good, good.
for watching all of these episodes. We will definitely continue in the next year. Um,
Absolutely.
so,
And
first
with
off, we
exciting
we
news.
need to talk about 2311, right? Because this month we are covering two releases, maybe two smaller releases because we're approaching Christmas holidays and New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Um, the release hasn't really contained that sort of wow feature, right? In my opinion, at this point. But let's dig into it. So the first stuff we want to talk about is that there are some improvements that have been made for the new device experience. Could you show us that?
I can for sure. And we've already been showing this, right? Because this little button over here, the use preview, is something that is coming to all of us at some point.
Mm.
But for now, you have been able to actually remove it and add it as you want. But nevertheless, this is coming. And this news is the public preview of, yeah, well, we have Nikolai, something over here that you have been providing feedback on, haven't you?
So I just want to point out that Microsoft actually does listen to feedback, right? Because the icons are back. And I know how much I complained about that in a previous video, so I'm not gonna go over all that again. But I think that's a tremendous improvement, to be honest. Is there anything else with the new? Is it only the icons or?
Um, Almost.
Did they make any
but
improvements towards the sort of ordering of how they had monitor as the first kind of tab under, I don't know, configuration profiles and such?
we can certainly have a look. Configuration profiles. Yeah, we can go to the platform configuration profiles.
Still looks to be the same, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is almost the same, so no big difference there. But there are coming some other references to the monitoring report, for example, device actions, a report of status of the device actions assigned per device. So if you click that, you get kind of what kind of actions have you been running on your devices in your environment. So they are experiencing in how can they provide a better user interface for you, and how can you be more efficient in what you're working with in your daily Intune operational views.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I am actually using device actions or how much I would be loving to have this report for this, but yeah.
I think it could make sense, absolutely, if you don't want to just go dig into the auditing stuff immediately, right? But then again, I would probably not look at it from the overview page, because generally, in my opinion, finding reports from the overview perspective doesn't really make sense. If I'm looking for something like that, I would like to have that from a report perspective in the reports section. I think it would make more sense.
But let's play with
Then
the
again,
thought,
let's
Nikolai.
see what they continue on improving with this. It's going to be interesting.
If you were like managing, let's say, 100,000 devices, right?
If
If you were,
okay,
then what would be nice to have if you did a whole lot of work during the day and then you have to find back to what kind of devices you actually did some actions on? That I believe this report would actually be very good at, because in my environment where I have 7 devices, this is, yeah, doesn't help me much. But if I were doing a lot of operational things across a lot of different devices, I could now go here and I could look exactly what I've been doing, maybe even export it, document what I've been doing today, send it to my boss, or just, follow up on the devices that I wanted diagnostic data from, or that I reset, or what I did with it. That makes sense.
I just looked this up in our production environment, and there's definitely a lot of information in there. Most of it is related to mobile phones, from what it looks like. There's a few Windows stuff as well, but so it's generally retire and wipe that seems to, at least in our environment, to be populated in this kind of report. So yeah, that's a good overview at least. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe it makes sense from an overview.
Yeah.
Cool. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
More reporting. That's what we've been saying.
Yeah.
Just combine it somewhere. Pick a choice. Cool.
Yes.
Anyways, there's also an update to the Microsoft 365 apps for enterprise security baseline, right? What's that all about?
Baselines. Yeah, baselines is here to stay. It's a good way to get started on protecting whatever you are deploying in your environment. We've already covered these topics, but nevertheless, Office is a moving product, which is Windows as well, which is at Edge as well. So these recommendations on the security baseline needs to be updated and improved, and make sure that those who use these baselines is actually have a very easy way of applying best practices, or kind of best practices. So what's new in this baseline? You can go and read about it. We will provide the link in the description below, so you can see the differences on what has been added to this build of the security baseline.
So basically, go read about them and make sure that you upgrade your security baseline.
Yes.
That's the message. Cool. And in the 23.11 release, there were also a few firewall profiles things that have been updated, right? One of the bigger
Absolutely.
one is that they have now renamed it somehow.
Yes.
With the
So
policy,
one of the big
right?
surprises, right? What was it? What was it called before? Microsoft Defender Firewall, Firewall, Windows Firewall, Microsoft Defender Firewall. Yeah, I believe that was the word. Now it's simply Windows Firewall.
I
Is
think
that
that
what it
makes
is?
much more sense. That's essentially what you are configuring, right?
Yeah.
Everyone is more familiar with that. They know what it's all about. It makes much more sense.
Yeah. So we can remember this change because it makes sense. So keep that naming standard, and it's much easier to actually walk around in the different products. Please,
Yeah,
Microsoft.
I agree. Cool. And there's also additional news around the firewall, right? Especially towards Hyper-V, new firewall rules.
Yes, and this is especially targeted to Hyper-V and in the format of the Linux subsystem that you can install on Hyper-V. If you go to your Hyper-V firewall, you would, if you go to Hyper-V, you would see that if you want to create a quick VM, you have the ability to create Ubuntu. And this is for specifically for the Windows subsystem of Linux. So if you, yeah, you saw that small bug. That's a tip from here. You can then now edit the rule, and you can target the Windows subsystem for Linux, and you can target the 4 profiles, all profiles, or the 3 profiles that exist in Windows. And well, yeah, you can enable it, disable it, surprise, and then there is these standard policies you can either allow or disallow. So not much to do, but now there are possibilities to do this, and this is more targeted to developers, I would say, that want to live in the Windows world, but at the same time in the Linux world.
I think, yeah, I mean, this is a huge improvement. And Microsoft also just on the VSL topic released new functionality and new management capabilities that's available within the settings catalog, targeted towards Windows subsystem for Linux. So if you have that in your environment, go check it out. Remember, it's from Windows 11 23H2, I believe, at this point. So upgrade to Windows 11 if you
Yeah.
need to manage VSL.
Sooner than later.
Sooner than later, yeah, before October 2025, right?
Mhm.
That would be a good recommendation. Cool. Did you have anything else on firewall that you want to talk about, or should we move
Oh,
over to?
it's a boring topic, so let's move on to some more interesting topic now, talking about Windows 11, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's some updates to. Yeah, this title in the what's new document doesn't really make sense to me. I think it's a little bit incorrect in a way. Or tell us about it instead, Matthias.
All right. Everyone is aware of feature updates in Intune, right? It requires a different license than the EMS one, but other than that, you might be entitled to use it if you're lucky. But the thing is here that when you use the feature update, you actually need to be enrolled into the deployment system, which is another system than Intune itself. When you've done that, you are speaking with the regular Windows update, and then it kind of revert that signal and see if this Azure or Entra ID device ID is known in the system. If it is, then this feature policy will be your guiding star. So, meaning if you want to have full control over your feature estate in your organization, this is the way to do it. Now we talked about Windows 11, Nikolai, and we must at some time or some point go from Windows 10 to Windows 11. So why not do it now? Many companies are transitioning at the moment from a hybrid device identity to a full cloud identity. And in that scenario, you need to, at least for being supported, you need to wipe the device and start over. But if you already are on a cloud device and you just want to move to Windows 11, you can do it using this feature update. And well, select the latest one, 23H2. And if you have anything on your device that actually prohibit you from upgrading to Windows 11, you can now tick this button. When the device isn't eligible for running Windows 11, install latest Windows 10 feature. This is so cool because that will make your Windows 10 upgrade to the latest version, that is 22H2, if it's not eligible for Windows 11. And you want that because if you're not on the latest Windows 10 level, you will not be supported until the end of October 25. So nice improvement. It's really easy for you as an admin to actually get going upgrading to Windows 11 or just a newer feature on Windows 11, and at the same time target whatever device on Windows 10. You don't care about that.
Yeah, and I think from this perspective, where you don't really, when you're looking at Windows 11 and going to upgrade, and you made the choice to use the feature update sort of functionality, it sort of makes sense that you don't have to just think about the Windows 10 devices that aren't eligible. You just check this box, and they will be offered the latest version available so that they can update as well. Way much easier. Then you don't have to control with different update policies or groups or filters, whatever you want to do, simply just to manage those non-eligible devices. So yeah, I think this is a really cool feature, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Good improvement. And I think with that update, it wraps the 2311, but there is still some new stuff in 2312 also. And the first one takes us back to the baselines again, right? There's a new one for Edge.
Indeed, there is. And of course, all the moving parts need to be updated and need to have newer recommendations. So this is what's in the 2312 version that you can now go and deploy the Edge security baseline for version 117 going forward.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I'm not going to use it as such, but I think it could be nice just to bring in some addition information in the portal to say, what are the difference from my last security configuration to my new security baseline? Because then it would be very easy for you to determine what CSPs is going to be updated on these devices. So that could be a wish from us, Microsoft, that would up the game of being know about what changed. We could go to the documentation, of course, but have it in the portal would make sense. Don't you think so, Nikolai?
Oh, certainly. Just give us the difference between the two versions. Like, let me compare between what I have deployed already and what's new in the latest one, and provide me with a report. Just list everything that is different in between them with different values. Yes, please.
That would be helpful.
Absolutely. And this one, the next one is kind of like a little bit of my favorite in this one, because it feels like it's something that should have been there from the start, right? With support for variables in non-compliant emails notifications. We talked about this right before we started this recording. None of us is actually using it, unfortunately, maybe. And maybe it was because it didn't have any sort of dynamics to it, right? It's very static. It's like, hey, your device is not compliant, blah, blah.
Which one?
Exactly. Well, that one.
Exactly. Yeah. So I really like this notification. It's actually quite nice. We go to next. So these messages now you can create more dynamic values. So in order, if you want to be more personally involved in your emailing to your users, this could be hi or dear, and then you could use this tag, username, your device, and then your device name are currently non-compliant. Make sure to do something, right? Sincere
Make sure
IT.
to reset your device.
Yeah. But before you weren't able to do this, and there are two other valuables you can use. If you go to this report, documentation, we'll put that in the description as well. You can use the device ID, the OS and version as well. So if you need that, I don't know if a user would have anything good of knowing the device ID. You and I maybe, but not an end user. But nevertheless, this is really nice, Nikolai.
It is, and why I said this is kind of like my favorite, because it sort of builds on a story. Because previously with the SCEP certificate profiles, you've been using variables in there, right? Device name and those kind of things, so that you can build the structure of how your common name for the certificate should be and those kind of things, or the DNS or whatever kind of variable that you wanted to put in there. And now it's populating into this place as well. And hopefully, in a future release, and maybe we will cover that, and I hope we will, we could have the same thing for, let's say, primary user variables within the setting catalogs profiles to do various things like user assignment rights and that thing. So, I mean, that these kind of variable usage scenarios is popping up in more and more places just makes me hopeful that we will eventually be able to do way more with this. Maybe create our own variables and have it fetch specific data so that you can reference them. That would be truly powerful, I think.
I agree.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
And in 23.12, there's some new Defender for Endpoint connector visualization updates. I don't know what that is. Could you show us, Matthias?
Yeah, the thing is, Nikolai, we have multiple places where we can actually build the connector, so we onboard our devices to MD. And that was kind of, yeah, that's not only MD, that happens for a lot of settings, but you could configure it in the device configuration. If you went down here, you click create, new policy, Windows 10, I think it was templates, wasn't it? And then endpoint something, onboarding to the Defender for Endpoint here, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, right? So that was the old way of doing it. Then
you got
Microsoft
the new way, right?
introduced exactly endpoint detection and response, right? So we could do it right here. That one, I believe. MDE, next, and here you could onboard your device, right? So this was frustrating because people wanted to use the new way of doing it, but when they did that, oh, by the way, have you seen what happens to my tenant administration and groups?
Did you move it?
Did you know that?
That you can move it, yes.
Yeah, okay. On to the topic, I didn't.
You've been able to do that in the Azure portal for like
Oh, no.
years, Matthias.
Okay. Nope. But
We'll edit it out. No worries.
No, it's fine. It's fine. If you go to the tenant administration and the connector and tokens, you can go to the cross-platform down here, Microsoft Defender for Endpoints. And then back in the days when we weren't on the 2312, we had like a cake diagram, and you were able to click deploy an endpoint detection and response policy to begin onboard your devices. Thing is, if you were using the new policy, that cake diagram wouldn't show anything because that was built upon the old version of onboarding. So if you wanted this onboarding cake diagram to actually show something, you would use the old way of onboarding. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just if you have a SOC division, they are managing whatever you're doing in endpoint security. That would be where you would put this onboarding, because then they would be able to see it, right? Instead of the Intune or the operational team from the Windows side. So the new thing is that now you see the benefit of everything instead of only one specific policy. So that's good. Report is simply built on top of the sensor and what it gets of signaling instead of a policy.
That is cool. I just checked it in our environment, and yeah, it actually shows both of them because we have the old and new for different pilot programs, for instance. Interesting. Cool. Yeah, that's an improvement for sure. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense to show 0 and like, what? Didn't they onboard? What happened?
Exactly.
Created a profile.
Yeah.
Cool.
But one thing, Nikolai, we're back to the generated, refreshed reporting, right? But instead of the new reports that we build, we always click, I want the data now, here and now. This is a generated report. So we are back to what they did with configuration profiles, profile reporting, and so forth. It's quite fun.
Well, just move out and move back into the blade and you'll get an updated refresh.
You think?
I don't know.
No.
So how do you refresh it then?
Yeah, it will refresh whenever the schedule
It feels like. So 11:23, that's when I entered. There's probably a blocker. Don't do this too often.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's not updating. Where's the generate button then? Let me show now, right?
Yeah.
So that's another improvement. Maybe we will cover that in 2412 or something.
Maybe, or just go to the configuration you did, and yeah, then you have
check
your
the
reporting.
actual stats.
Yeah,
makes much more sense. Enough Defender stuff, in my opinion, at this point. There are some new settings for scheduling antivirus scans as well. Well, still Defender, but kind of. I need to ask you, Matthias, because it kind of annoys me now that we have started looking into Defender a little bit from various perspectives. If you go back to the overview of where you select the not the profile types, but like Windows 10, Windows 11, Windows Server, Config Manager, those kind of things.
Oh, yeah.
I find it rather confusing. Mac OS makes sense, Linux makes sense, but then Windows 10, 11. Can't they just put like MDM within parentheses or MDE within parentheses, or just call them differently? This is so annoying. There's 3 different ones for Windows, right? I understand that there's for different sort of protocols or how you have essentially enrolled or managed your devices and things, but this is getting out of hand, I feel, at this point. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think it's rather confusing, but you need to have some kind of idea what platform you're going to target when you create these policies.
Absolutely. And I think it could be made way more visible for. So, I mean, understanding, okay, I now want to manage my MDM devices, right? MDM managed devices. That's going to be, I don't know, the majority of them. But then you may have some sort of scenario where you also simply just manage servers through MBE or something. I feel it makes more sense to separate that on a channel base instead of the different operating systems that support that channel, right? But that's just me.
I don't think it's just you, but you have to be very cautious when you do this, because if you have MDE enrolled your servers, or you have clients only MDE enrolled that don't need change and configurations all of a sudden applying, well, you might be up for trouble if you use this blade, because you can target, if you created the connector, your MDE managed devices. So when you use this kind of flow in the endpoint security, you really want to make sure that you do not target the wrong clients. And a what if would be a very, very good idea here.
Absolutely. I mean, eventually you learn that the first option is whatever it is, right? It's MD, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, MDM, isn't it?
MDM, yeah.
Exactly. And then you get to it. But yeah, this is about what's new. This is also a little bit about what could be improved with Intune from our experiences. That's why we're highlighting it. So if you have the same kind of feeling that we have, please reach out to Microsoft and provide some feedback around this, like we have done with other stuff throughout the year. Hopefully it will change.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
so the new thing here is scheduling, right? Scheduling. So let's look at that scheduling here. So if we go down, yeah, this is quite nice actually, because if you are configuring your Defender and you are using this setting, you know it's going to be deprecated or deprecated. So clean it up, get rid of it, get rid of the technical debt. Scheduling. Go down to the bottom here. We can widen or narrow the randomized period of scheduled runs, specify a randomized window, and so forth, between 1 and 23 hours. Schedule task will not be randomized. So you have these two. Not configured means schedule will not be randomized, and then you can configure it to randomize. And then you can also make a window in what time frame that schedule tasks should be randomized. And Nikolai, you are asking the $1 million question. Where in earth would you randomize your scans for virus or malware, whatever Defender does? Can you
Why are you running scheduled scans in these days?
Yeah, you might do that in quick scans and full scans, etc., but that will require power from your device.
Exactly.
So if you set that to 9 o'clock every day for your users, they will indeed see degradation of performance on the device, even if you limit it to limited resources. But this specifically randomized schedule task times is actually for VDI environments. If you think of it, Nikolai, you have this big chunk of data center, and you build hundreds of devices from this data center, and you tell it to do scans on these 200 devices on the same hardware.
And then every customer who have any type of VDI in that infrastructure or cloud.
You see the impact? 9 o'clock every day, everyone is hit.
Absolutely.
So this makes sense.
Total sense to randomize it from that perspective. But let me ask you another question. How often is it that you actually run full scans these days?
Yeah, how often do you do that? I normally don't configure too much in this Defender view, but yeah.
Now
with
I'm just
Defender
bringing it up for discussion, because I mean I may be way off here, so please correct me in the comments or tweet me or say that I'm stupid, but it feels like the sort of scanning activity. It's more of like a reactive way of, okay, did we miss something in our sort of real-time protection capabilities, right? And maybe that is so, and maybe that's the sort of thing. But I mean, from a user perspective, I would definitely not be happy if my device were to run full-time scan on a daily basis, right? That would just consume all of my battery and really impact my performance on that device. But don't listen to me. I'm not the expert here in this area. So
Not me either. So if any smart guy out there wants to have full scan and full scan every hour, tell us why.
absolutely, definitely. And the last thing for this update is that there has been some improvements to the Win32 application. Let me see if I get this right. Assignment configurations for grace period settings, right?
Yep. And in every Win32 app, we have a possibility to actually set in a grace period on the assignment. So when we click here, we have this restart grace period. But you can see it's disabled on this one. So we don't see it. So even if I can see the menu here, I click it, it's not possible to have any grace period here. The reason for that is in this specific package, I actually told it that I did not want any device restart behavior, no specific action. So if you don't see this in your environment, you know why now. If you determine behavior based on return codes or anything else, that will be hopefully visible in your environment as well. Let's see if that's hold water. Click assignment again. Now you can see restart grace period is enabled. We click it and bam, now we can see that the device restart grace period in minutes, and when the restart countdown will come up and so forth. And the new thing about this is that now non-admin user can interact with this notification. Isn't that correct?
I think so too. Honestly, this is not something that we have been using that much. We make use of the PowerShell App Deployment Toolkit capabilities. But if I understand I think I saw a tweet about this as well, that there previously was a bug where they reference low privilege users. To me, that sounds like a standard user, like a non-administrative user. Whenever this sort of grace period would occur, I mean, I'm assuming it couldn't notify the users, right? Because they couldn't interact with the experience. Or maybe it could notify, but you couldn't really interact with it in any way if you want to snooze or those kind of things. So hopefully that has been fixed. I should actually go check it out, because if it is, then it makes a lot of sense to start using these things instead, and transfer as much over to the native functionality instead. So that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Now we just need the apps to update as well.
Don't ask too much,
right?
Ola.
I know. I shouldn't get too overwhelmed. Ask for too much at the same time.
No. We all need to go to Christmas vacation, and then we start fresh in the new year, right?
Oh yeah, certainly. And I know that there were a few other things that you wanted to highlight that's not maybe specific to Intune. Well, some of them are a little bit, but it's essentially enhancements to the ways of working with managed Intune devices from other aspects. And the first one is if you go into the Azure portal, right?
Definitely.
What happens there? If you click on a Intune device, or Intune managed device, maybe you should say.
Yeah. So what happens is that now we can actually see as a iframe here. As you can see, this looks very familiar with something you've seen in the Intune portal. Now we can actually go click that device, and you get the more information around the device ID and its management and so forth. If we click, okay, that didn't went too well. Do we have another one? Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay. Then we are referencing now directly to the Intune portal. So I think it makes sense to have these updated views
as well, can't you?
What?
Can't you click on the Manage button?
I can. It's just the same as clicking the blue highlighted text.
Cool.
Yeah, just some, again, how do you operate your device estate? That's basically what we want to highlight and show, that things become even better and easier.
Absolutely. So if this is the place where you start off and this is where you sort of work with your devices from any kind of process, and you just need a quick view into what Intune knows about things and get a lot of more details without, I don't know, opening another portal or anything like that. It's a good experience, I think. It's improved for sure.
Yeah.
It's easier. Should we cover the button annoyances? Yeah, maybe we should. Just because it was annoying, right? It's a little bit hard to demo it though, but there has been some noise about it on Twitter recently, and the problem was here that, was it with 23.11? I think that's when it started, right? So if you would go into the configuration profiles, you would be presented with this sort of gray area that would overlay on just right below the policies and import ADMX tabs. And it would basically say, oh, it's still loading in the background, blah, blah, blah. Click the ready button when you're ready or something. I don't remember it. I saw it a few times. It was relatively annoying. And it was also there because when you searched or if you wanted to search for a profile name or something, in some instances, it wasn't able to load all the profiles at once or something. And you would not see your search profile, even though you know that it would exist by whatever name that you search for. It would only appear if you were to click on that ready button. But we're bringing this up because Microsoft have assumingly made some improvements, because I am not seeing it as frequently as I did a few weeks back. So hopefully that's good. But if you are, now you know a little bit about it. Why? What was it? Was it an attempt to improve performance on loading the amount of profiles? Is there like a limit with how many that sort of triggers this? We don't know really, but
I don't think so, because I saw it even in my environment, and I have one larger environment where I also saw these things, and the thing is that I had lots of people reporting that, oh, have you removed my configuration? And I wasn't, no,
yeah.
I have not. Click that ready button and then search your configuration. You find it. But yeah, that was quite annoying.
It was a little bit, but
better to have a fast responding UI than and have to click a ready button. That's fine by me, because it was responding, it was fast, so I'd rather have it that way.
So I'm the opposite of an opinion. I can wait 1 or 2 seconds more for it to load.
I can't do that. It needs to be there instant.
You need the instant, so you can click.
I take the blame. Yeah,
it's all your fault. Great.
It must be fast.
And that's it, Matthias. That's all the news for the past 2 Intune service releases. Cool.
Yeah, it feels kind of sad, Nikolai. Now this year passed by, we don't have any more news for you in the Intune portal, but I really believe that we have covered a lot, and this is actually a good exercise to know what happens in the Intune portal, because it is a very, very moving product, isn't it?
It is. It changes maybe a little bit too frequent. But some of I know that we have been sitting here for the past 10 or 11 recordings, how many we have made, and said, oh, we want this, or we want this, or we want that. Well, if you want to have this fast changing pace, well, then you also need to adapt, right? And you need to embrace that things are going to change. And the best way is simply to stay up to date. And that's what we try to help you out with in here. Sometimes we learn ourselves as well. So it's just a win-win, in my opinion. Cool. So Merry Christmas, everybody, and Happy New Year. The same to you, Matthias. And we'll see you in 2024. Bye-bye.
We'll do that. See ya.